Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Shamaria Jackson. In today's episode, you guys, there is so much scandal gracing our social media platforms that it's ridiculous. So most of everything going on in today's social media podcast is nothing but scandals. From Earl Thomas to Kevin Hart, I cannot make these things up, guys. So stay tuned because we have a lot more in hand. So first, starting off, I wanted to talk about the Amazon vice president who quit after the company silently fired the employees worried about COVID-19. So the vice president of Amazon has stepped down from his position due to the company firing protesting workers. Taking to his official website, Tim Bray, former vice president, Amazon Web Services, explained why he, quote, quit in dismay, end quote, in an official statement. Tom Bray wrote, quote, firing whistleblowers isn't just a side effect of microeconomic forces, nor is it intrinsic to the function of free markets. It's evident of a vain toxicity running through the company culture. I choose neither to serve nor drink that poison, end quote. Tom Bray revealed that he reached a breaking point and snapped when the company fired 2 employees who put together a staged climate walkout. Okay, so back in March, former employee Marian Costa and Emily Cunningham created a petition requesting that Amazon take better care of their employees during the crisis. Costa and Cunningham suggested that Amazon expand sick leave, offer hazard pay and childcare for its warehouse workers, according to the New York Times. Amazon also fired an employee by the name of Christian Smalls for leading a protest in response to a lack of support from the company and a poor pandemic response to COVID-19. However, Amazon's reasons for firing Smalls was due to him breaking their quarantine policy after being exposed to the virus to attend the protest. As for Costa and Cunningham, Amazon claimed they broke the company's policy by asking co-workers to sign the petitions. Tom Bray said, quote, vice presidents shouldn't go publicly rogue, so I escalated through the proper channels and by the book. Remaining an Amazon vice president would have meant, in effect, signing off on the actions I despised, so I resigned. The victims weren't abstract entities, but real people, end quote. Furthermore, from the beginning of this outbreak, Bray said that Amazon's response to the worldwide crisis has been, quote, chicken shit and designed to create a climate of fear, end quote, against its employees. At the end of the day, the big problem isn't the specifics of COVID-19. It's that Amazon treats the humans in the warehouse as fungible units of pick and pack potential. Only that's not just Amazon. It's how 21st century capitalism is done. Amazon has yet to comment on this matter. So what are my thoughts and opinions about this? I feel that as a company that a lot of people depend on, so essentially during this crisis, Amazon has already been an essential for many businesses and many people because they need their packages on time, whether it's for a business or whether it's just for, someone wanting something. So for leisure. So many times their needs are overlooked, just like what Cunningham and Hosta were saying. Their sick leave is trash, and many times their needs are unmet because people want a lot out of them without really paying them a lot of money. And then we also fail to realize that these people, if anything, are in a small confined space more than anyone else. So everyone is scrambling and running around and getting angry about the fact that, we're being in quarantine, we're stuck in quarantine. But these people are exposed to COVID-19 on a daily basis. Why? Because they're an essential worker. They have to go out. They have to get these packages done. Now, how they're exactly doing it in the warehouse, that we don't know. All we do know is that if all of these people are protesting because of their health, because of their sick leave, because they're getting an unjust reason of being fired or having to, know why they're exactly getting fired, I think that this should raise a sign of questioning. And because this vice president has stepped down because of the injustice done toward these people, that should speak volumes as well. I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So they can say you're fired because they know for a fact that there's other applications, there's other people, especially during this pandemic, who will go out and who will work because they obviously need the money. However, on the other side, it could turn into a ripple effect because they can come in, notice the injustice, say something, act on it, and then they will also get fired. And then they'll hire another person, and then the next person will end up doing the exact same thing, and then so far and so forth. So at one point, does someone decide to sit down, stop what is going on, think rationally of what is going on, and think of ways to end it instead of just upping and quitting silently, but allowing these people who are actually the bread and butter, they're the reason as to why Amazon is functioning, to just keep on. I guess what I'm trying to say is I understand why the vice president quit. From what I read, it sounds like he was just getting so tired of the injustice. To me, that's what he was saying. Because he was just so tired of seeing people stand up for themselves just for them to get fired. However, on the other hand, I feel like as a vice president, you have more of a voice than those who are workers who are essentially voiceless. So they can say and scream about their injustice, about not having a sick leave, about not having certain things to keep themselves safe. But as a vice president, part of your duty is standing up for them and saying, hey, that's not right. This needs to end, instead of quietly stepping down and leaving everything alone because you're tired of seeing the mess. If you're tired of seeing the mess, then get out and do something about it, because actions speak louder than words. Your actions has shown me that you care, but it's not dealing with you. So you kind of don't care, but instead of doing something about it, and instead of dealing with press or dealing with the bad stuff, when the bad things turn around and happen, instead of actually working on action, you just quietly stepped down and left the mess where it is. And then you decided to write a statement, high key covering your behind, but, doing everything you can to still show, where the mess still is. So there's really nothing being done. These people are still having protests. These people are still put in a bad situation, and no one is really essentially helping them. And all anyone can say is, oh, well, this isn't just Amazon doing it. These are other people doing it. Okay, well, someone has to step up and stop it. Someone has to step up and help these people make a change. Otherwise, like I said, it's going to continue being a ripple effect to where this applicant will go in, they'll work, they'll notice the injustice, they'll speak up about it, they'll get fired, then they'll hire another applicant, and then the same situation will happen. Or they'll hire another applicant. The applicant might keep quiet for a little bit, but after some time, people are going to start talking, and they might not go to the vice president. They may go to someone else. Essentially, will that probably get them fired? Yes, but these people's lives are at risk to help other people around the world. And instead of getting heard, they're told to be quiet. They're told your concerns aren't alarming. And the sad thing about it is that Amazon will not really have any repercussions. Why? Because it's one of the top places to shop, especially with shipping and handling. People mostly go there, especially now because of the quarantine. Okay, so where are people going to shop now? You think people are going to boycott Amazon because of this COVID-19? And I think that's another reason why Amazon is not really doing anything. They know there's not going to be any repercussions. They know that people are going to say something, but no one's going to really do anything to where they're going to be highly affected, because people from the low spectrum, such as, regular class, they're using it, all the way up to the big people who are who works in corporate or works at other, high end jobs. They're using it. So there's actually no repercussions. So I think the big thing that people are going to have to worry about is what is next for Amazon? What are the big things that people can do to ensure that everyone is keeping safe, especially the ones that truly matter? And I think that one is going to take someone who is diligent on saving and changing the way Amazon is doing and working their employees, the people that are helping function Amazon and creating Amazon to what it is today. So with that being said, that is the end of our very first segment. In the next segment, we have another scandal. Guys, when I tell you there is so much scandal in today's social media news, there's nothing like a good gossip session. So also now we have Earl Thomas and how he was held at gunpoint. After this break, we're going to talk about who he was held at gunpoint by and why he was held at gunpoint. All of that coming up after this break. Stay tuned.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing, and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Before that break, we were talking about Tom Bray and how he was once a vice president of Amazon and why he exactly quietly stepped down from his position, especially with all of the boycotts, protests, and walkouts, and why exactly all of those situations are occurring at Amazon. Right now, however, I wanted to talk about Earl Thomas. If you guys do not know who Earl Thomas is, he is a football player. He is from the Baltimore Ravens, and he was in a dangerous altercation after police say his wife pointed a loaded gun to his head after catching him cheating. Court documents obtained by TMZ Sports has the details of the altercation that occurred on April 13th involving the NFL star, his wife, and more. Officers from the Austin Police Department came to a home in the Austin, Texas area after getting a 911 call about the incident at 3:41 a.m. in the morning. When officers arrived on the scene, they reportedly said, quote, "We observed that a black woman wearing an orange sweater with a knife in her hand, later identified as Nina Thomas, was chasing a shirtless black male, later identified as Earl Thomas, with a pistol in his hand around a vehicle." End quote. Officers drew their weapon and ordered Nina and Earl to the ground. They both abided without incident, which is good, okay? The last thing we need is another person of color getting shot down to the ground. On with the story. According to Nina Thomas's side of the story, she claimed that Earl Thomas, who was 30, left their home after an argument that they had over him drinking. She alleged that Earl's brother, Seth Thomas, came to pick him up. She then decided to find out where Thomas was by logging into his Snapchat account. This is when she allegedly found a video of him with another woman. Nina reportedly said that she tracked Earl's location using his Snapchat account and saw that he was in an Airbnb rental near their home. She then called two other women, one of which is reportedly connected to Earl's brother, to come out with her to confront the men. She then grabbed her husband's gun, which was a 9mm Beretta, in an attempt to scare him. Okay, before I continue on with the story, okay, if you're going to scare someone, I don't think the gun should be loaded. I don't think the gun should be locked and loaded because that just goes to show me that you're like, you know what? He cheated on me. This is the last time he is ever gonna cheat on me. Okay? You did not go down there to scare him. You did not go down there to scare him. I don't believe that whatsoever. Let me go on and continue with the story. When the three women went to the house, they discovered Earl and Thomas naked in bed with other women. Nina, oh my God. Oh, this story just keeps getting worse and worse, guys. It's like there's like one section and you're like, oh God, this is bad. But then it gets worse. Okay. There's not like a middle, but then it gets back to being good. No, it's like bad. So you never know like what's going on. Nina reportedly admitted that she pulled out the firearm and pointed it at Earl's head. Nina stated, quote, she took out the magazine thinking that the gun could not fire. According to officers, Nina was unaware that the gun had a round in the chamber. Officers say that according to cell phone footage of the incident shot by one of the women in the home, it shows Nina from less than a foot away, and it can clearly be seen that Nina's finger was on the trigger and that the safety is disengaged. The gun was then wrestled out of Nina's hand by Earl, according to officers. The cell phone footage allegedly shows Nina striking Earl in the nose before it ended. Cops arrested Nina and the two women that were with her. Earl was not arrested for the incident. In an interview with Earl's alleged mistress, she claims that Nina threatened her as well as the other women, pointing the gun at them, at one point yelling, quote, I got something for all you hoes, end quote. She also claims that one of Nina's associates had a knife and was swinging it around aggressively during the altercation. Nina was booked for burglary of a residence with the intent to commit aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and family violence. She was later able to bond out. However, she was also hit with an emergency protective order to stay 200 yards away from Earl and his alleged mistress. TMZ Sports contacted Nina's attorney, Jonathan Gomez, and he said, quote, I am here to declare that my client unequivocally denies these altercations, and we look forward to our day in court where we can clear her good name, end quote. So after Nina's attorney said what he said, Earl Thomas came in and he released a statement through social media saying, quote, keep us all in y'all's prayers. Stuff like this happens. We try to live the best lives we possibly can. Sometimes it doesn't go as planned. End quote. So what are my thoughts over this debacle? First off, how do you argue? Okay, so I can see where both parties are in the wrong. I'll start with Nina because, ladies first. Politeness, So Nina is first in the wrong because I feel like she had an intent to not scare Earl. I felt like she had an intent. Okay, I feel like she had an intent to scare Earl by shooting the gun. Okay. Or maybe she just grabbed a gun, didn't realize there were rounds in there, and then when it went off, she was just like, oh my gosh. But I really feel like she shot the gun with the intent to not only scare Earl Thomas, but to also scare the mistress. But I felt like she, in some ways, knew that there were some rounds in there. With that being said, I feel like Earl is not in the right as well. He knew he had a wife, and in some ways, his mistress, his mistress was wrong as well. So I feel like I personally don't like cheating. I've never really liked cheating. I felt like if you're going to cheat, you might as well end the relationship you have with your said partner and be with whoever it is that you want to be with. Okay. There's no reason why you should string on another person. Okay. I don't know the history Earl Thomas has with his wife, Nina. I don't know if she's been there with him through thick and thin. I don't know if he met her while he was in the NFL. However, this mistress knew exactly what she was doing by recording them doing their whatever. Now, Earl Thomas was in the wrong for going to the mistress and, having sexual intercourse with her. He's wrong for stepping out of his marriage. A thing in a relationship is people are going to argue. It's whether you decide if you want to still be with that person. So he was in the wrong for stepping out of his marriage. Nina was in the wrong by shooting the gun. However, the mistress was in the wrong by recording it. Okay. Why would you record it and put it on your Snapchat? Like, for what? What is your exact reason on doing that? Now, Nina, in this case, I feel like we all have those moments and we all have those friends who were like, let's go confront him. Let's go see, let's go talk to him. Do I feel like she was wrong? A part of me wants to say no, but a part of me also wants to say yes. It's weird. I feel like she was wrong for shooting the gun. But I also hope that this brings awareness on who her husband is and the respect that he has for his wife. So money does not always speak, okay? As a woman, I feel like you should respect yourself. You should respect and you should demand respect, especially from your husband. This man obviously does not respect her. And the mistress obviously wants you to understand that your husband does not respect you because not only is he over here, but his brother is over here. So this mistress in some ways doesn't even respect herself, but I'm going to digress on that. So I feel like the best thing she could do right now is divorce this man and move on, or go to marriage counseling if you so choose. I mean, do what you want with your marriage, but I feel like I've said this before on one of my podcasts, which is your freedom should not be defined by any kind of man or woman or whatever you prefer. I feel like your freedom should not be determined on them. So I feel like by her showing up to the hotel, Airbnb, whatever you want to call it, going there to shoot up the place, act crazy, yell at him, cuss at him, what all are you going to do? Because now he has a restraining order against you. Now your reputation is in the mud. And most importantly, now your freedom is in jeopardy, all because you wanted to go and confront this man with his mistress instead of saying, you know what? Obviously, this man doesn't respect me. I've tried to talk to him. I've tried to do all of this stuff with him. We just cannot seem to see eye to eye. And you also need to ask yourself, okay, if I back up, is this someone who I like, or is this someone who I like for the money? And if the money is the case, I mean, I can't tell you what to do after that, But what I can tell you is that if he cheats once, he'll cheat again. And by this mistress just kind of saying, oh yeah, she came at me and she shot at me too. And something tells me she probably did it with a smile on her face. I have to tell this mistress, baby, you are not in the clear either. Okay. He might have a restraining order out against his wife. Okay. But let's just say he divorces his wife. He divorces Nina and then he marries you. Let's just say that for giggles. He marries you. If he'll cheat once, he'll cheat again. So he might cheat on you. You might not even be the only mistress. You might think you won now, but karma is a thing and karma comes back to bite. So one of these days, your said boyfriend, your said lover, relationship, whatever you want to call it, the same thing could happen to you. So don't giggle and laugh too soon, okay? As far as Earl goes, I hope he's using protection and, realizing that an STD is a real thing. Okay, many of these football players get into these roles and think that they're invincible, but they're not invincible against an STD. They're not invincible against a court case, an alleged assault, an alleged rape. These things are real. So I hope he's really thinking clearly and getting his crap together. Okay. And then obviously Earl doesn't respect himself either, because why in the world would you be doing a sexual altercation and your brother is in the room next to you? What are you doing with your life? The whole thing is just messy. It's just messy. And this needs to be a stamp of fix it, Jesus. Because fix it, Jesus. I have so many questions that are left unanswered, so many statements that I want to say. But with that being said, I'm actually going to end it here because I feel like I've said a lot. And sometimes, less is more. So in this case, my advice to Nina would be to, just leave this man alone. It's evident that he does not respect you. He obviously respects this mistress more than you. And your reputation, your freedom, and you as a person shouldn't be let down to the respect or the little respect that your husband has towards you. You can decide what you want to do in your marriage, but just understand that if this happened once, it's more than likely it could happen again. So I just hope she thinks clearly about that. When it comes down to Earl Thomas, I do feel like he is also in the wrong for cheating on his wife, not holding respect for his wife, and, doing things to hurt his wife, stepping out of his marriage, and allowing someone to record it. So with that being said, this is the end of this second segment. Coming up in this next segment, we're going to talk about Kevin Hart and why exactly he is in the news. Coming up right after this break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey guys, welcome back. Before that break, we were talking about Earl and Nina Thomas and why exactly she held him at gunpoint. It was messy. It was a lot of just mess going on, and it didn't bring Nina in the best light, and it definitely didn't bring Earl in the best light. And the sad part about all of this is that the bystanders that came by to, make sure that Nina was set and made sure that she was okay, those people are now in jail with Nina. And it's all because someone decided to record infidelities going on, essentially. In this segment, speaking of infidelities, I wanted to talk about Kevin Hart and how his $6 million sex tape lawsuit has reportedly been dismissed by a federal judge. Kevin Hart just got a big win in the $6 million lawsuit centered around his 2017 sex tape scandal. According to reports from The Blast, a California judge has ordered all claims against Hart in the suit, which was filed by Motia Savage, to be dismissed, arguing that the suit was, quote, brought in the wrong venue, end quote. This comes after Savage refiled in California court following another judge previously dismissed the case without prejudice last year. They said, quote, Miss Savage had no knowledge that the intimate activity depicted in the video was being recorded, end quote. Savage's legal team argued in the original complaint as cited in Tuesday's report, saying, quote, to the contrary, Ms. Savage believed that such activity was completely private and she had a reasonable expectation of her privacy in Hart's private bedroom suite at the Cosmopolitan, and she reasonably believed that her privacy was safe and protected at all relevant times, end quote. In the suit, Savage also alleged that Hart and Jackson conspired in leaking the tape as a promotional stunt for the comedian. Kevin, on the other hand, had long argued that Savage had never properly served him with a related legal documents stating in a motion that a server had simply tossed a set of papers out of a car window and into the view of one of his security guards outside his home. Since this is the second dismissal for the lawsuit, it seems like Kevin is in the clear. But we'll see what happens with this case and whether or not it gets revived once again down the line. End quote. Oh my goodness. So how do I feel about this whole situation? First off, I heard about Kevin Hart's infidelity before. However, I feel like since 2017, he has obviously had a great team on his side to help stop this lady trying to get $6 million from him. In some ways, I feel like it's a little bit of blackmail because, she's trying to get $6 million. Actually, she's trying to get more than $6 million if you want to be honest about the whole thing. So I feel like in a little way she might have staged it, but then she knew he was married. She knew definitely what she was getting into. She knew, but I felt like she did not really care. And because she did not really care, I feel like a lot of people caught on to the fact that she didn't really care and even trying to change up everything. However, in the same sense, this case has been picked up twice now. I personally think also that Kevin Hart had a hand in her missing both lawsuits. I mean, Kevin Hart is a very funny man. He's a powerful man at that. So for her thinking that she could possibly win this case, I don't think it was a good move. Again, he is a powerful man and the odds are stacked up against her because she recorded herself with him. And many people are saying that she was doing this for clout, for the money, looking at it as a way for her to advance. Or maybe even take the place of Kevin Hart's new wife. Once again, I'm going to say the same thing that I said with Earl Thomas, which is, if he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you. Kevin Hart's wife was at one point his mistress before he ended up marrying her. And now we see that obviously, Kevin Hart has cheated on her, which goes to show you, like I just said, if he'll cheat on you, he'll cheat. If he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you. And that also goes to show that I don't think Kevin Hart really sees himself in the best light. Otherwise, he would respect his wife. He'll respect his wife a lot more. I also have to question, but I just don't, why would you put yourself in that kind of predicament? And then, that's all I'm going to say for this segment. But I also wanted to also go on to say, I feel like this case might get picked up a third time, because, this mistress is so diligent about getting her money and filing that lawsuit and winning that lawsuit against Kevin Hart, because maybe she feels like, she was taken advantage of. She was not heard. And, this is something that was put against her. But again, all we can basically do is just really sit and wait. I don't think that Kevin Hart should celebrate too quickly, because this lawsuit is just another reason as to why maybe him and his wife are fighting, or this is just another obstacle or flaw that's in his marriage. And even though they're probably trying to work through it, this is something that is still brought to light. So maybe he's trying to move past it, but this doesn't look like it's going to end off too soon. So I would tell him not to celebrate too soon. And with that being said, that is the end of this third segment. In this next segment, I'm going to talk about a New York City resident who attacked her roommate. And this story is straight out of a Lifetime movie. I cannot make this story up. We're going to talk about that right after this break. Stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey guys, welcome back. So before that break, we were talking about Kevin Hart and how he won a $6 million lawsuit filed against his once mistress. In this segment, I wanted to talk about a New York City resident attacking her roommate for attempting to help her with her excessive drinking. This whole segment sounded like a Lifetime movie. I cannot make this up. So after attempting to help a friend with her excessive drinking, New York resident Tatiana Narsanova was reportedly critically stabbed by her roommate, Daria Alabeva. I feel like I just butchered her name. I searched and searched and searched how to pronounce her name. For right now, I'm going to call her Alabeva because I believe that's how you pronounce it. So the two were in their shared apartment. Alabeva has now been charged with attempted murder and assault in the incident. Her bond is set at $750,000. So years prior, the two Russian women lived together in California. However, the living arrangement was short-lived due to Alabeva's problem with drinking. 6 years later, Narsanova relocated from California to the Upper East Side of New York City, where she used her apartment to run an Airbnb. In a phone conversation with the New York Daily News, Narsanova recalled her time with Alabeva leading up to the attack. Narsanova stated, quote, "I promised myself and my parents and my friends that I'm not going to deal with this person ever again. She was acting really, really crazy and wild," end quote. But instead of Narsanova staying away in 2019, the roommates reconnected after Narsanova gave Alabeva a place to stay while she got herself together. Narsanova stated, quote, "I thought if not me, then who? We're Russians, and we should take care of each other. And honestly, it was a mistake," end quote. Although Narsanova was willing to give Alabeva a place to stay, she made it clear that her drinking was not allowed. Narsanova stated, quote, "You can't drink in the house. You can't go to the liquor store. It's a rule," end quote. In return, Alabeva ignored the rule and continued her excessive drinking. Narsanova stated, quote, "She would start drinking in the morning. She would go to the kitchen and grab a coffee mug and pretend she was drinking coffee or tea. It became so bad in March, Narsanova was scared for her life after Alabeva threatened to stab her amid being drunk." So what are my feelings about this? I can tell that Narsanova probably has a really good heart. She wants to see, people succeed, okay? And that's the thing, sometimes our hearts are so big because we want to see people succeed and we want to see people doing the best that they can. But I'm also a firm believer in people show you their true colors once and you should believe it. It took a very long time for me to even understand that because I'm someone who also has a big heart. I will open my doors to people who have backstabbed me. I will, look past the rude things that someone has said to me, and I'll continue trying to help them because, I want to be a good person and I want to see them succeed in life. That's just me. That's just what I do. So when Narsanova said, this is never going to happen again, a part of me wanted to believe her, but the other part of me said, I feel like she's not, because she has a good heart. And something tells me that Alabeva knew that. She knew that Narsanova had a very good heart. She knew, where exactly she could push the limits. She knew what she could get away with. So I knew, a part of me feels like, Narsanova put her foot down, but she didn't let it be known that she put her foot down. She didn't state, if I catch you drinking, if I find out that there's alcohol, if I smell your coffee mug and there's alcohol in it, you're out. The moment this woman threatened you, that should have been it. Okay, I hate the fact that it led to this woman being stabbed. Okay. And I mean, I'm very, happy that she's alive. And I mean, I hate to say it, but Alabeva, I'm not happy that she was arrested, but I'm happy that she's getting the help that she deserves. There has to be a reason as to why you're drinking excessively, morning, noon, and night. Okay, there has to be a reason why you would go to the extent of sneaking to drink rather than, putting the alcohol down. I hate the fact that now she has been charged with attempted murder and assault in the incident. I hate that has happened to her, but she has to get help. And if this is the way that she can get help, then fine. But there was nothing that Narsanova could have done to ensure that she was safe, except for, just putting her foot down and saying, okay, you got to get out. From what I've read, I don't see any forms of Narsanova telling her you have to pay rent, you have to clean, you have to do all of these things. Maybe that was some of the details, but from what I've read, it was mostly of her saying, you cannot drink. This does these things to you. Also, we have to see if whether Alabeva saw Narsanova in a friend-like manner. Maybe she just saw her as another Russian who was helping her live in California at the time, and she saw her as this smaller person who was going to let her get away with stuff. And so by the time she came back and saw her in New York, she saw her in the same light and said, she's going to let me get away with it. I can get away with it. I know I'm going to get away with it. It's just sad for that to happen. And going forward, I just wish Narsanova the best going forward. And with that being said, that is the end of this segment. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the COVID-19 researcher who was found shot dead. All of that coming up after this break. Stay tuned.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hey guys, welcome back. Before that break, we were talking about a New York City resident who was attacked by her roommate, one of which just wanted the best for her roommate. So she was doing everything that she could to just help her not drink so much. And she understood that her roommate was excessively drinking and just wanted to see her in a better light, just for the roommate who was excessively drinking to stab her, which was terrible. The roommate ended up being okay, but the other roommate was charged with attempted murder. In this segment, I wanted to talk about the COVID-19 researcher who was on the verge of making a very significant finding to being found shot dead. Bing Liu, who was 37, he was just 37. He was a COVID researcher at the University of Pittsburgh who was on the verge of making a very significant findings, was found shot dead at his Ross Township home on Saturday, May 2nd. Authorities say upon discovering the professor's body with gunshot wounds to his head and neck an hour later, a second person, Hao Gun, who was only 46, was found dead inside a car less than a mile away. Ross Township's Police Department Sergeant Brian Kalib confirmed the two men knew each other and believed Gu killed Liu before killing himself after a lengthy dispute regarding an intimate partner. The investigators said, quote, we found zero evidence that this tragic event has anything to do with employment at the University of Pittsburgh. Any work being conducted at the University of Pittsburgh and the current health crisis affecting the United States and the world. End quote. In a statement released by the university, they stated, quote, Bing was on the verge of making very significant findings toward understanding the cellular mechanisms that underlie SARS-CoV-2 infection and the cellular basis of the following complications. We will make an effort to complete what he has started in an effort to pay homage to his scientific excellence. End quote. So what are my thoughts, my opinions about this situation? So I have a crazy conspiracy theory, and I think I'm going to follow through on it. I believe this wholeheartedly. So here is my conspiracy theory. I say conspiracy theory to the max. I don't personally feel like there was any intimate partner going on. I feel like the two were working together. Someone caught on to that. And I feel like someone shot them. That's my conspiracy theory right there. I feel like the two were working together. I feel like Bing Liu was working on his said project, found the solution. Okay? He found the solution. He was like, got it, right? Called his friend. Boop, boop, boop. Hao-gu told Hao-gu came through, saw who the person was who shot Bing Liu. And I feel like Hao-lu got in his car and drove off. The person found where Hao-lu was and shot him so that there was no evidence on anyone finding out who the killer was. Okay, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. This whole thing between intimate lovers, I don't think that was it. I mean, if you want to go down that road, definitely you can. But in my conspiracy mind, I feel like someone caught on and said, this man is trying to make significant findings of trying to end this virus. But I feel like the government is trying to do something to line people up with this COVID-19 stuff, right? Hear me out. So that it takes control of people's businesses and makes them more aware so that there's not a lot of social gatherings, okay? And so this man found it out to, possibly help there be a vaccine of some sorts to help people out more. And that person found out and they were like, So instead, what they did was they killed him, and then I don't think Hao-lu maybe he was in it like with Bing Liu to help him, or maybe he was just like an innocent bystander, like maybe he was just a friend or whatever, but I feel like he just got hit in the crossfire as well. So that wouldn't surprise me. So with that being said, this segment is short and sweet, but that is my conspiracy theory. I don't have any more theories. They're saying it's intimate stuff. I really don't believe that. It could be, but I don't believe that. With that being said, that is the end of this segment because that is truly what I believe. In this next segment, I wanted to talk about Scott Disick and his plans to sue the rehab facility that he was at over a leaked photo of him. All of that coming up after this break.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we are here at the final stretch, okay? We are about to end off our podcast for today. And I'm just going to summarize to you all of the scandals of today's social media news, okay? So we've had a vice president of Amazon quietly quit his position because of the protests and the walkouts, okay? We've also had Earl Thomas being held at gunpoint by his wife, Nina Thomas, and what actually led up to him being held at gunpoint. Then after that, we talked about Kevin Hart's sex tape and how he won the $6 million settlement. But that was his second time going to court. Could there actually be a third time with the woman that is taking him to court? Then we talked about a woman in New York City who was attacked by her roommate because she wanted her roommate to stop excessively drinking. Then we talked about Bing Liu, and why he is so significant is because he was on the verge of finding something significant to help with all of this COVID-19 stuff going on. And we were also talking about my conspiracy theory. In this segment, to round out all of today's scandals, social media scandals, I wanted to talk about Scott Disick and his plans on suing the rehab facility he was staying at over a leaked photo. So on Monday, reports started coming in about Scott Disick checking into rehab. At the time, it was said that Scott was getting treatment for cocaine and alcohol abuse, as he's reportedly struggled with that in the past. Along with those reports came a photo of Disick at the rehab facility, and since the picture emerged all over the internet, the reality star has been livid. Scott's lawyer, Marty Singer, is now speaking out to set the record straight. Marty Singer tells TMZ that he was not there for cocaine and alcohol. He says, quote, "In an effort to finally come in terms and with the pain that Scott has been silently suffering for many years due to the sudden death of his mother, followed by the death of his father 3 months ago, Scott made the decision to check himself into a rehab facility last week to work on his past traumas. Apparently, he's been quarantining in Los Angeles by himself, and it has gave him time to realize that he had not fully coped with the death of his parents. As for the leaked picture, Scott's team believes the photo was taken by a staff member and not a patient. And that could trigger criminal prosecution. TMZ was told that the photo was taken of Scott upon his check-in to the facility. As soon as Scott learned of the photo leak, he immediately called for a car to pick him up, and now he has left the facility and is heading back to Los Angeles. Singer says the facility's reckless move is an outrageous HIPAA violation. So what are my thoughts about this? I can definitely see why Scott is very upset. This is his privacy and does violate HIPAA policies as well. Okay, there should be no reason why this professional settings should unleash or leak out a picture of someone who is at a rehab facility to care about their health, their mental health at that. If he is unwell because of his parents' death, like, no one can really understand where he's coming from, because his, memories that he has with his family is his memories with his family. So the memories I have with my mom I could feel exactly what he's might be going through. I could empathize with him, because if I were to ever lose my mom, that would be something that is tragic. Okay. So that's something that you have to live through. You have to work that on. That is someone who you could always turn to. And now that person's not there. Okay. So I can definitely see why exactly he is so upset. I also need to know, or I would like to know, like, how exactly the photo got leaked. When you look at the picture, it looks like he is in like a round talk, to where you like sit in a circle with different people and you talk about your feelings or whatever. And I feel like someone might have taken a picture of that. I don't feel like it could have been a patient. I have to agree with Scott as well. I don't feel like it could have been a patient. I feel like it more than likely was a staff member, possibly because they're like, oh, I got a story now, or anything of that. Now, do I feel like Scott was lying? I felt like maybe he did go there kind of for drinking and for cocaine. However, I think a big part of it was because of his family. And I would hate for him to stop, his rehab, because of people leaking out his photo. I would rather him just go to another rehab facility to get the help that he deserves, because I would hate for him to relapse even more and essentially take his own life accidentally. So I feel like he should go back, not to that same rehab facility. I feel like he should go somewhere else and get the help that he deserves. And with that being said, that is the end of today's social media news. I would like to thank you guys for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, once again brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review, because that really helps us out. Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social media handles, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would like to thank you, and I want you guys to have a good night, a good day, and everything in between. I am your host, Shamaria Jackson, signing out. Bye, you guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.